I was told I'd never have children. So she just felt like this miracle baby because through
They
all
just
my
gave you
illness,
all the fun diagnoses.
oh,
Like, you're
I
just going to die and never have kids
do
and
you know
forget
what
living.
I didn't even finish that, but he actually did go through the list. He was like, you're never going to dance again. And at that time I was dancing 5, 6 hours a day. That was the love of my life. You're
Wow.
never going to get married. You're never going to have children. Like literally,
What?
it's mind boggling when you really think about it.
Like, he
I
doesn't
know.
even have a right to say whether they're going to get married or not. Like, that's so out of his
I know.
scope. Oh my gosh.
And I lecture to doctors and neuroscientists and pain scientists now. And I'm like, listen,
Mm.
I get that you need to sometimes say, hey, this is what we're facing. That's very different than saying this is exactly what's going to happen and nothing else,
Yeah.
and not leaving any room and for something different because history has continued to show like impossible isn't a fact, it's an opinion, and people defy the odds all of the time.
The mind body connection has been proven millions of times in every medical study.
That's right. That's right. As we were looking back, right, I'm like, man, why wouldn't my body relax? I
Mm.
felt empowered. I wasn't in fear, right? I was moving. I was doing all the things. I had a healthy pregnancy. I mean, I had challenges, but I was healthy. I had moved and worked my body, but there was a very hardwired fight or flight response. Going into labor from that perspective is very protective from me and my body, right? This is a huge thing the body is doing. Are we safe to do this? Even in my nervous system, fear and mistrust versus surrendering and trusting, even though I wasn't consciously there. That's how powerful the nervous system is in our life experiences and how the subconscious mind is shaped. And so I really believe, again, just like after the hip surgery, those deep protective alarm bells were activated when I
Mm.
was giving birth.
When that happens and your body is tense and tight, it kind of holds that baby up. There's other factors too, as you tell your story, that I'm like, oh, this could have also played a role. For example, like if baby's posterior, they're not able to engage in the pelvis, and that prevents dilation from happening. And then you've got all this stuff going on. Well, yeah, it's no wonder you're stuck at 2.5 centimeters for 16 hours.
Right.
That's why I don't think Kegels are necessarily good for everyone, because the goal isn't to have a strong pelvic floor. Now, we want a strong pelvic floor to keep baby in for 9 months, right? That's why we have that thick cervix and all of that protective tissue there. But in labor, it doesn't serve us, because the job of the pelvic floor is to thin and yield, not to
Mhm.
be strong. And if it's strong and tense, that baby can't get through. We need it
Yeah.
to move out of the way and yield to the contractions and yield to baby's head engaging.
Because we've also been programmed to think pain is an indication of something wrong. And yes, it is in many cases, but it also is just an indication of alarm bells going off, which can be caused from physical, but also from the emotions or your mind. It's so much more than just a signal of something physically happening
Right.
in the body, which is why women have so much more pain diagnoses and conditions than men, because so much is fueled from emotions and from past traumas. Those protective signals in the brain get pushed into haywire, and then pain.
And
Yep.
what you're saying essentially is that pain is not just physical. It's not just a nerve firing. It's our response to it. It's the meaning we associate to it. And in that, either it's going to magnify it or depress it. And that takes a deep work. And that's oftentimes the work I work with clients in preparing for birth, because some women just get it and they're like, got it, I'm going to have a pain-free birth. I'm in charge. I can control my brain, my thoughts, and they do it. Others need the deep unraveling, because there's stored traumas, there's deep set mindsets and beliefs surrounding birth or motherhood, even. And
Mhm.
all of that comes up and impacts our brain in labor. Whatever's inside you is going to get squeezed out. It's going to come to the surface. All those subconscious fears, all those patterns and belief systems and coping behaviors, like it all rises to the surface.
But what I want to say is regulating is constant management. That is different than rewiring it.
Mm,
And
yeah.
that is what I do through bioemotional healing.
That's amazing. It's so healing and so beautiful. And what I'm just hearing you say is like there's always hope, and you can rewire, you can change.